This is the first time in all of my years of traveling that I have really felt like the company that I'm traveling with truly cares about me as a person and not me as the dollar that I'm making them. And if you're not going to make me this dollar, then there's somebody else standing in line that will make that dollar for me. And if you have a problem and you can't make that dollar, I'm not going to go to bat for you. You're just on your own. I do not want to leave and go to any other agency other than Atlas because I've been there. I've seen them. This is home. My name is Wendy Briggs, and I'm an ER nurse. I've been a nurse for 38 years. I started traveling in May of 2018. My husband was a firefighter for the Department of Defense. They make them have mandatory retirement a lot earlier. We always said when he retired that we wanted to go do some traveling, but I started traveling 2 years early because I could not get my time off. I drew the line in the sand and I said, if I can't get my time off, I'm not going to do this anymore. The one way that I could that I was guaranteed to get my time off was to go travel. So the next year rolled around and my time off was denied again. And I had a lot of paid time off because we could never use it. So I went in, I took the traveling leap, got my first assignment, walked in with my resignation letter and told my boss, and the first thing out of her mouth was, Wendy, nobody resigns because of their schedule. I looked at her and I said, well, I just did. I had a friend that I worked with several years ago, and so I've stayed in touch with her, and she traveled with Atlas. She traveled with Atlas for 7 years, and she always spoke highly of them. And so I called on a Friday night, and it was after hours for Atlas. Stephen answered the phone, and he is phenomenal. I absolutely love Stephen. He's had some funny things with me. My life is an adventure. That's all I'll say. But I couldn't ask for a better recruiter. I really could not. My first assignment, and Stephen was very helpful because I had the assignment and Stephen was helping me to even get my application in and all of my education and my background and my resume together. So we did all of that. It happened very quickly, and Stephen was on top of things. He would call me and say, look, I'm doing this and I'm doing this, and can you send me this? And so he was a huge help, and I was working, so he was, kind of working around my work hours and got that done. And then I got this phenomenal job in a beautiful area that we absolutely love. I did my day of orientation, and I was working the next day, and I got a phone call that my mom was critically ill in Georgia. So it's 2 o'clock. I went to work at 6:30 that morning. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had to walk in and tell my boss, I've got to go. I have to leave. I called Stephen immediately to say, Stephen, I'm having to leave. I'm having to walk out of this contract. And Stephen said, are you okay? And I said, yes. And he said, did you let your boss know? And I said, yes. And he said, because if you did not, we need to do that. And I'll do that for you. And I said, no, I told her. And when I went in and told her, I had asked her if she was going to cancel the contract, because it would have been fine, but I wouldn't have hurried to get back to California. I would have just known that I, didn't have to be back for anything. But I stayed in touch, and Stephen stayed in touch with me during that time. And that meant a lot. I mean, this was my first assignment. We were just starting to get to know each other as nurse and recruiter, and he had to step up to the plate in a big way. I think one of the big cons is that some places that you go to, rules that apply to staff doesn't apply to travelers. So they can say, our staff only takes 4 patients, but our travelers take 6. It's like some places you're not treated badly, but you're just not treated as staff. Sometimes that's kind of the con to it. The pro to it, the big pro to it, I get my time off. That's number one. I get to meet new people. I get to see new places. I think it's really cool from a nursing standpoint in that things that we do in one area of the country to treat certain things is not what they do in the other area of the country. And that just amazes me. That kind of blows my mind. Anybody that's thinking about travel nursing, recognize that when you leave that you may be gone for the assignment time. You may not be able to go home. So when you're starting travel nursing, put that in your mind. When I go for the 13 weeks, I'm going to be gone for the 13 weeks. Also put it in your mind that we don't get paid time off. So if you take any time off, you have to know that you can do that. I always tell people to make sure that you have the assignment and the assignment in hand before you travel across the country or even 5 or 6 hours up the road. And then once you're getting assignments, make sure that when you're having your recruiter put in for an assignment for you, that there's a place for you to stay. With Atlas, this is the first time that I have felt like it's truly part of a family. The other agencies talk the talk, but when it comes down to it, they don't walk the walk. Atlas walks the walk. Atlas cares about who you are, and then Atlas works for the nurse. The nurse doesn't work for Atlas. And Atlas says that, and they stand behind that. The other agencies that I've been a part of, it's like they wanted the money that they were making off of me at whatever cost it took. I don't feel like Atlas does that. I need to go home for a few months, like probably a couple of contracts. And when I say home, somewhere on the East Coast, my home is in the North Georgia mountains. I would just like to be somewhere within 4 hours of there so I can go do my 3 days and go back home and not 3,000 miles away.